Welcome to the Pitcher Nailed Down. I'm Jason Gilba, J Gilba 11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J Clay. Taking a look at pitching on DraftKings and FanDuel tonight, and a pretty loaded night as far as pitchers go. I mean, there's at least 10 probably, teams aces going tonight.
FanDuel, good. We don't have to talk about Max Kepler on here because I wasn't as against him. DK, we're gonna have to have a moment of silence for my body because now I'm now bodiless. Anyway, yeah, there's some major pitching going on tonight. So on slates like this, it's kind of fun because like you get to think all the combinations to potentially fade, and then 10 minutes before lineup block, you're like, all right, I'm playing Bumgarner.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things where it's like all the swerves are just going to be, I mean, they're there for the taking.
Yeah.
So it should be a fun night just because there's a lot of ownership potential for a lot of low ownership potential for some of these guys.
Definitely.
So first game here, you mentioned it, Madison Bumgarner, Giants minus 215 favorites on the road against the Phillies. Bumgarner, I mean, he's an expensive option tonight, 11-8 on FanDuel, 13K on DraftKings. So he's up there. Good favorite, though, against a bad team, the Phillies. Just against lefties, dead last in WOBA, 23% strikeout rate. I'm fine with Bumgarner really in all formats if you want to pay up.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple here. This is a good matchup. Obviously, when teams are projected for 3 runs, that usually means a combination of good pitching and bad hitting. So definitely like this. Cash game viable. He's expensive, but at the same time worth it. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look at Bumgarner. I mean, on the slate, he's got the 5th highest strikeout rates. Obviously, an ERA near 2. And I remember, I mean, going back, I mean, he pitched against the Phillies a couple of starts ago and didn't have a great outing. But I'll look for him to kind of rebound here. He's been solid on the road. I have no issue picking on this Phillies team again.
Right. In the same way that lineups get a read on hitters, I think Bumgarner's the type of guy that can also get the read on the hitters by going through the lineup a few times. So I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely. And should get some run support on the other side. I mean, Zach Eflin, cheap guy, but I'm not necessarily looking to use him facing this Giants team that's starting to get healthy.
Definitely. Yeah, not touching him at all.
Yeah. Rangers and Orioles next. Yu Darvish versus Dylan Bundy. And, I mean, this one, 2 intriguing GPP options just because, I mean, Bundy's still super cheap. I mean, obviously, we saw that strikeout upside that he has. I mean, he's shown that before. But obviously, he is facing a lot of lefties, which is obviously of concern. He's not quite a cash game guy, but a GPP value at most. But I think it's a little bit deeper into turns than where he was the last time he pitched.
Deep tournament play, but I think it's something to at least keep in mind, especially on DK where he's 4-4. But overall, you probably don't want to jump into the fire with that one. But
yeah.
It is an interesting contrarian swerver. If you do a Bumgarner, maybe you throw him in and average out the salary. But,
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm looking is just strictly SP2 on DraftKings at the most.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, it's a high-risk, high-reward situation just because the Rangers offense, they do have a lot of lefty pop in that lineup, and in that ballpark, it's not always the greatest. And given the Rangers are a decent offense. Darvish, though, I mean, I don't know. He's kind of intriguing as a GPP swerve. Not a cash game guy for me, but I mean, given the fact that he is a drop down from Fernandez and Bumgarner on both sides, I don't mind spinning down in tournaments because Baltimore's been kind of average since the break. I mean, obviously their strikeout rate's pretty high against righties, 22%. So I don't mind him in GPPs.
That's fair. I'm probably not going to have much exposure to Darvish. I just don't necessarily like that matchup personally. But at the same time, can't deny that upside. I don't think as many people are going to be on him just because of the slight struggles of late. He hasn't been all out getting shelled, but he hasn't quite been hitting value either. So I'm kind of lukewarm on him as well. I don't think I'm going to have much exposure, but certainly some tournament upside there.
Yeah, definitely. Next one here, you get the Indians and the Twins. Carlos Carrasco versus Kyle Gibson. Indians minus 205 favorite. Carlos Carrasco, I mean, obviously a a drop down option at 10-5 at DraftKings. I mean, kind of in that borderline price of not quite paying up all the way on tonight's slate. So I don't mind him. Obviously, I after last night's outing of the Max Kepler explosion, I think people are going to be a little bit hesitant. And the Twins do have that boom offense. I mean, there is a lot of power there. With any pitcher, if you're not careful against any team, you can get hurt. So I'm okay with Carrasco. I think given the fact that he is a huge favorite, a little bit cheaper, he is a fine cash game option for me. I think people shouldn't really be afraid to target him tonight.
Oh, sorry. I was just staring into the window thinking about Denny Salazar. It would have been nice if he had told us before yesterday that his elbow was hurting. But hey, you know what? Whatever. That's fine. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. It's just my lineup's going into flames. Flames.
Yeah, that it was a night if you Salazar. I mean, you closed tabs early. I mean, I did. I mean, there were certain lineups I was just like, oh, these are completely done.
Whoa, yeah, that's what I did. Whoa. And no Kepler either. I mean, you're not winning a tournament without him, I don't think. Either way, Carrasco, he's all right. I do like him tonight. Obviously, Indians are big favorites, minus 205. Twins only projected for around 3 runs. So should be a good night for him. Should set up for a quality start and a win. So I think you kind of go with that, but just be aware. I mean, I don't think they're going to have anything like that happen again tonight. So I wouldn't be too worried.
No, I wouldn't either. And on the other side, I'm not really looking at Kyle Gibson as an option against this Indians offense.
No, not really. The Indians are even priced down a little bit compared to what they have been of late. So at least on DK. So something to look at there.
Yeah, definitely. Next one up, you got the Royals and Rays. This one kind of an intriguing matchup. I mean, we saw Danny Duffy last night really light it up against the Rays, 16 strikeouts. Not quite expecting that here, but I do think given the fact that the Rays do struggle against right-handed pitching, 24th in WOBA, and still have that 24% strikeout rate, Yordan Ventura is one of the few kind of cheap options with some real strikeout upside. I mean, it's just a matter of Ventura, which one he actually shows up. But overall, I mean, 5 or more strikeouts in the last 4 starts against pretty good opponents. I mean, Texas twice, Detroit, Seattle. So, I mean, it's not like he's facing cupcake teams out there over his recent stretch of games.
Definitely, and those have some quality lefties in there. So, I like that strikeout upside, as you mentioned. I mean, normally you'd see him around 4 to 6 somewhere in a start, but I mean, I think that floor is raised, that ceiling is raised today. So you got to like that at 7,700 on DK. I think there's quite a bit upside there. Probably not cash, but a nice tournament option.
Yeah, definitely good GPP guy. 8,100 on FanDuel. So if you were looking to do a single bolt, I think you can go cheap and kind of stack some bats. Although I don't think it's a must tonight to kind of really, you don't have to usually consider that.
Right.
So on the other side,
not really looking at him, right?
No, I mean, not really. He's pitched okay out of the pen, but for me at the price, I think I'd rather just kind of go Ventura, a little bit easier of a matchup at a similar price.
Right.
So White Sox and Tigers, Anibal Sanchez versus James Shields, and really two arms I'm not feeling comfortable with rostering in any format. I know Shields has pitched pretty well, but I just think overall it's been a majority of luck in the low strikeout rate, so I'm not touching it.
Man, Vegas really doesn't like James Shields, huh? I mean, 5.5 runs. Shields has been good of late. Obviously, he had that really ugly stretch, including a really tough start against the Tigers, where he only got through 5 innings, but 6 earned runs. That was rough. I don't know that he's that bad. I don't think either of these guys are in play, but I don't necessarily think it's that bad, you know?
I don't know. I think, I mean, Tigers have some pretty good numbers off him, as a whole. I mean, they've seen him at a decent rate, just given the fact that he has pitched in the division for a good amount of time. So I'm staying away. I know he's been good. I mean, am I looking to really build the Tigers in against him? Not a ton, but they will be in my lineups for a good amount of part.
Right.
So I just think, given the success of really the top half of the lineup against him, he'll probably struggle again tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And Sanchez, I mean, even against the White Sox offense, I mean, he really just hasn't shown any sort of real potential for upside. I mean, he pitched well against the Twins, but came back out and gave up 10 hits to the White Sox in his next start. So he hasn't been good all year. No reason for me to deploy him on August 2nd.
Yeah, we're good. We're good on Anibal Sanchez. I'm all set with that.
Yankees and Mets here. Jacob deGrom and Masahiro Tanaka. Both these guys, I mean, certainly in play. That Yankees lineup is just bad. And now that you take Beltran out of it, that middle of the lineup, it really isn't that scary. And you still got to get past the front four: Gardner, Ellsbury, Teixeira, McCann. But after that, I mean, there's not a lot to worry about, especially now with Tanaka pitching or hitting in Citi Field.
Yeah, this is ugly. This is ugly. I think you like DeGrom a lot here. He's kind of the guy in that 10K range that I'm probably targeting. I know it's a lot of lefty on righty here, but I just don't see where the runs are going to come from. Unless Brett Gardner hits a homer, I just don't see them putting together a lot of momentum with this lineup, I mean, I could see scenarios where Ellsbury gets on base and like steals the second, and then DeGrom strikes the rest of the guys out, and then he's stranded on second. Like, that's just what I see for them for the rest of the year. So they might not score a run the rest of the year.
One singular run the rest of the year. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this lineup. I think DeGrom's a solid play tonight. The only thing that worries me is he's not a bank for a win. And at those price tags, I mean, you do kind of like them to check off all those boxes. And given the fact that Tanaka's on the other side and this Mets, lineup, I mean, they threw in Jay Bruce, which is going to help out a bit, but still missing Cespedes. It's still not a great second half of the lineup. And Tanaka's been pitching relatively well of late. So I really don't mind both of those spin options. I mean, I think Tanaka, given the fact that he's been better on the road this year, he should have a pretty solid start.
Do you think Jay Bruce's 6 home runs in 5 game streak sealed the deal on the Mets wanting to get him?
I think it certainly helped. I mean, I think it was like, oh man,
this guy means business. Yeah, I mean, I like this. I think this lineup's a little sneaky now with Jay Bruce in it. I think that's the power element they were kind of missing there. But at the same time, yeah, like you mentioned, Tanaka's solid arm. It's really hard to trust any of these guys, even at the FanDuel prices of all below 3K, basically. But yeah, I think overall, Tanaka's an okay tournament guy for me.
Yeah, I mean, nothing that's spectacular, but I do think he's in play. Just because I do think the colors should get some love. I think Darvish might get a little bit of love. So I think Tanaka will probably be the lowest owned out of the 3 if I'm looking on the FanDuel, given the guys under 9K or under 10K.
Yep.
Pirates and Braves here. Pirates big favorites, -174. Garrett Cole versus Mike Fultonowicz. Garrett Cole, I mean, starting to come up in price a little bit. 9K, still not that bad. I don't mind him as an SP2 option. Obviously, coming off a great start against Seattle, had a fine start against Philly. Get a decent matchup against the Braves, who have been better, but still not a good offense, not a good power team. I don't mind Cole and Cash. I might look elsewhere, though, in GPPs for a little more upside.
Yeah, that Mariners game kind of gives you a little sample size of what he does against lefty-heavy lineups. So while I don't think that's to be expected, it is kind of nice to see that he got through the Cano Seager grouping, as a righty. But overall, you look at Freddie Freeman, you look at Matt Kemp, and you're still like, this could be trouble. I like Cole and Cash.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, obviously the addition of Matt Kemp does put a little bit more of a pop into their lineup, but given the fact that Cole's pretty solid against righties and Kemp's been more favorable against left-handed pitching, he'll be okay.
Yeah.
So Mike Fulton, what's on the other side? I know this Pirates offense really hasn't been that great, but no need for me to kind of just dive into anything cheap like him.
Keith Lockhart ain't walking through that door, Braves.
You know, you
together.
oddly know a lot of Braves.
I watched TBS forever, man. That was my thing.
It was a lot of Braves baseball.
Javi Lopez, man, just because they were so good too. So it's so easy to be a fan. You just walk in one day and they're like, "Oh, here you go, you're a fan," and I'm like, "I'm a fan," and then they win every game. So it's like, okay.
Cardinals and Reds next. Adam Wainwright versus Dan Straley. This one, in Great American, I mean, the Reds' offense has been a lot better. I know now taking Bruce out of it, it doesn't look that good. But at Wainwright's prices, I mean, they've come up because he was pitching relatively well, but I think he's a little bit overpriced for me in this matchup. Even though I do expect kind of a quality start, I'm not quite sure he pays off the price tag, or I, kind of feel like even using him tonight.
Would you have the same take if it was 8 games? He was like the only guy.
Yeah, I still wouldn't.
I think it's Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. But at the same time, I do think he is sort of returning to form here. On this slate, I don't think he's really in play just because I'm kind of on here, but I don't think it's horrible, especially with Jay Bruce gone. I think that could potentially really screw things up for the Reds lineup here.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, I think it really is the slate where, coming in and out of a 15 gamer with all these aces, it's just like he doesn't really fit in. You want that upside. You don't want a 15 to 18 point performance out of the pitcher there, or looking at FanDuel, he doesn't have enough upside for me at 9K. I can easily spin to a Darvish or a McCullers for a couple hundred more, go down to a Ventura who's got more upside.
Right. I totally agree. I just think on a smaller slate, he would definitely be in potential like cash game play if it weren't all aces on the slate. So just that for a little perspective,
Yeah, definitely. And Straley on the other side, no thank you. He's pitched, better than average at times, but overall I just not a fan of pick on the Cardinals, especially in that ballpark. So I'm just kind of staying away.
Yeah, I think that's good strategy with the Cardinals and righties.
So Marlins and Cubs next here. Jason Hamill versus Jose Fernandez, and Jose Fernandez obviously an expensive arm with a lot of upside tonight. I mean, obviously he pitched one of his better games against the Cubs earlier this season, striking out 13 over 7 innings. A little bit cheaper than Bumgarner, not by much, but I don't know, $800 difference on FanDuel is quite a lot.
Yeah, I like him. I mean, as we've seen this year, obviously the Cubs is a good lineup, but I watched a primetime Max Scherzer game where he just ripped through them like a knife through a warm pillow or something like that. They're not unbeatable, especially with an ace like Fernandez with that crazy strikeout rate. Obviously you worry about Bryant Rizzo, but overall, I like Fernandez quite a bit, and obviously you mentioned the discount, so you definitely like that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
cash, of course.
Yeah, yes. I mean, he's a guy. Yeah, I don't mind tossing him in cash games. I don't mind him in GPPs. I mean, just a matchup against the Cubs. I mean, the Cubs are a top 10 offense against righties, but they also do have a 22.6% strikeout rate. It's up there, so I definitely don't mind them. And obviously Fernandez on the road. I mean, usually he's a lock at home. On the road, a little bit different at times, but I'm okay with him in this matchup. I mean, hard not to like a guy who leads the slate in strikeout rate, 37%. I mean, that's just with saying that with all these, guys on the hill, that's just incredible.
Exactly right. His 2016 has been awesome. So I think we kind of trust it here.
Yeah, definitely. And Hamill on the other side, the Marlins just really aren't bad enough to target with average right-handed arms. I mean, both are kind of middle of the road, but I just worry about Hamill getting through really the top half of that lineup, especially, given the fact that he doesn't really miss a ton of bats either.
Yeah, and I like this Marlins team. So I think this is a really good lineup. Obviously, they have the results to back it up this year. So not someone I'm looking to use Jason Hamill with.
No, price up a little too high for me. 8,700 on DraftKings. I'm not really a big fan.
Yeah, 92 on FD.
Yeah, that's not really a price that I feel comfortable deploying Hamill against the Marlins offense.
So for the non-relevant play of the day, who would you rather have on FanDuel? Adam Wainwright at 9K or Jason Hamill at 9.2?
I'll take Wainwright.
Yeah, I think so too. The 200 more than Wainwright seems a little strange to me.
I mean, so are we playing like a Wainwright only lineup? Or maybe you were going head. We're both on the same boat.
I don't think this has ever happened before where there's just those guys are just completely irrelevant to the slate.
Outside of when Wainwright was like not right earlier in the season.
Yeah, I mean, and then
he's come back.
Those were rough times for Wainwright.
Yeah, but, so now it's been a different story.
Yeah,
but I think just slate considered, he just doesn't fit in.
No.
So, Blue Jays and Astros, Lance McCullers versus R.A. Dickey. And Lance McCullers, I mean, obviously a really intriguing arm. He's got that big-time upside. And the Blue Jays are kind of much like the Cubs where their strikeout rate's high. I mean, 22.3%. And, they do rank in the top 10 in WOBA. So there's obviously some downside to McCullers. I don't know. I mean, with Donaldson scratched last night, that lineup does not really look that good. I mean, obviously you still have to worry about Bautista, Encarnacion, and Saunders, but after that, there's a lot of potential for McCullers to kind of, get some strikeouts and kind of do some damage against this team.
I like it. Obviously not a cash move, but in terms of tournaments, I think that's a weird way to sort of get McCullers exposure. Obviously it's a pay down, so you'll be able to afford a little more, especially on FanDuel. But I mean, I don't think the ownership's going to be that high. So especially going against the Blue Jays, obviously, if Donaldson's confirmed out, it might rise a few percentage points, but I mean, I can't see him getting too far north of 10% tonight, in tournaments.
Yeah, I think 10, 15s were what about, on this slate is where he should sit.
Yeah.
Just because I think the Blue Jays do scare the average person off of pitching. McCullers, I mean, 30% strikeout rate this year. I mean, obviously the walk rate can be a little bit high at times, but, he does a great job. That's something that I'm a big fan of. So, yes, the pitch count can rise at times where it's frustrating, but he's also a guy who can work out of those jams. So I'm a big fan of his upside, and I like his FanDuel price at 9,400.
Agreed. Like it. Tournaments, though. Not quite in cash tonight.
No, not a cash game guy for me. And R.A. Dickey on the other side.
No.
Not a fan of rostering knuckleballers. I mean, his last 3 starts have been awful. Every now and then he can have a fine start, but I don't take those chances, really.
On a 5-game slate with no aces, I might be taking a shot on R.A. Dickey in tournaments.
But 15 games with pretty much everyone going.
Yeah.
All set.
All set.
Dodgers and Rockies next year. John Gravers, Brandon McCarthy. This one, I mean, I'm not intrigued with using pitchers, but it's like I'm not also intrigued with locking in on hitters. You know what I mean?
You have a pretty good John Gray sensor. Is it going off tonight, or is this a total fade?
No, it's a total fade.
Okay.
I'm not using John Gray. I mean, he hasn't really pitched well against the Dodgers. I mean, this will be the 3rd time he's seen them. And at home, I mean, obviously he's a little far off, but still a solid pitcher. I'm just not using him on a full slate like this.
I agree, but there's been a few times this year where you're like, I don't know, I like John Gray tonight, and then it
I
works
do.
out, and then it works out, and I'm like, what the heck? All right, let's do it.
I know.
But yeah, tonight's a really tough matchup, so I think we like our Seager Turner grouping in the middle there. Maybe throwing a little Josh Reddick, little new Dodgers action, and fire away in course.
Yeah, I think it's just, the addition of Reddick, I mean, that's actually kind of a really nice piece against,
it really is.
when you're facing righties. But that is another left-handed bat in that lineup, so I still think they're going to struggle against left-handers. But obviously, Gray, not a lefty, he's a righty in course.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon McCarthy, I mean, he's pitched relatively well. And McCarthy, I mean, decent strikeout rate since coming into the season. So,
is he going to do it, folks?
No, I'm not using him. No, I'm not using him. A cheap guy. Do I think he has, a lot of upside when he faces Colorado outside? Sure, we saw it already, but it's kind of a different animal here in Coors. I'm just not really using him, even at the cheap price tag.
Yeah, all it on, but on this slate and in Coors, there's just, I mean, hey, if you want 3% ownership, be my guest, but it's probably not going to work out for you.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan. I mean, was I intrigued at first look? Sure, just because the Rockies have been kind of abysmal of late, but fan.
Right.
So, Nationals and Diamondbacks, Robbie Ray, Tanner Rourke. This one, I just really don't want either piece of. Tanner Rourke, not really a cheap enough guy for me to use, so I don't really mind it. Robbie Ray, on the other hand, the Nationals offense is just way too good against lefties for me to even really consider, especially being at home. So I think overall, I mean, this is a game to kind of look away from. Build obviously a top 5 hitters park this season, so a lot of run potential on both sides. So I think Ray and Rourke are pretty much fades.
You guys, I just had a really weird moment. I just got a new camera. And I saw the setting at the top as not my microphone. I have a Rode USB, and I saw it as the camera, and I was like, why is my volume as the camera? And then as I was clicking it, I realized it was the camera setting, not the sound setting. And then I lost hearing, and it was like I lost all my senses for a second, and it was really scary. And now I'm back and we're all good. But that was pretty traumatic, honestly.
So I mean, after that, I mean, do you think you're able to handle a Tanner Rourke and Robbie Ray perspective on tonight's slate?
Ooh, yeah, we can just much like the paper, when the paper boy tosses the paper now, like 20 years ago, it was like really exciting. People would read through the entire paper. Now it's just like it sits out there, gets rained on, the dog like pees on it, and then they throw it out. That's kind of what this is. Like maybe on another slate I'd pick up and read it, but
this one, yeah, no appeal whatsoever.
I'm just gonna toss that in the recycling.
Yeah.
Or potentially honestly probably just the trash if we're being real.
Yeah, I'm definitely in favor. I mean, I'm not, jumping on anyone in this game at all.
No.
A's and Angels, Matt Schumacher versus Sean Manaea. Taking Reddick out of that lineup certainly downgrades the A's a bit. Schumacher at a pretty decent price tag after a nice stretch of games where he was priced up. Obviously coming off a bad start. I actually don't mind him here against the A's, who he's pitched relatively well against. I mean, 2 starts, averaging a strikeout per inning. He doesn't quite need to have that big monster strikeout performance at his kind of new price tag. So I don't mind him in tournaments tonight. And he's almost borderline cash. Almost.
You kind of break down his bad starts in Fenway against Boston, in Camden Yards against the Orioles, seeing the Astros at their home field there. It's like, all right, this is starting to make sense. The Royals one was a little strange, but at the same time, they're pretty solid and stingy themselves. So I think there's a lot of upside here. As you mentioned, potential cash without Reddick. Reddick was really the guy. Reddick and Vaught are really the 2 guys that kind of held that lineup afloat against righties. So this could get really ugly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and just saying that, I mean, it's not like Vogue's been the most solid this year. That Reddick
No.
missed most of the season. So, I mean, you just kind of look at this team, and you got Coco Crisp and Jed Lowry, obviously the left-handers up front, and still Vogt and Alonso. But yeah, I just think he kind of takes it away a little bit, and given the fact that Schumacher's at home. Where he has pitched a lot better this year, 3.23, ERA compared to a 5 ERA on the road, makes him a pretty solid option on tonight's slate.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure. Cash for me.
Yeah. And as far as Sean Monet goes on the other side, I mean, pitching relatively well of late. Not a guy I'm looking to use, but I'm just not a guy I'm looking to pick on either. So I just think it's kind of a wash really on both sides.
What kind of wash? The basic wash or
it's a speed wash.
A speed wash. Okay.
It's a speed wash. Like I'll pop it in for 20 minutes, maybe take a Mike Trout, but that's it. Not looking at anyone else.
Gotcha.
So
the works at Jiffy Lube, is that like the middle tier? I'm not going premium. I'm not getting like everything, but like I want to,
Yeah, it's you maybe take a Mike Trout and that's about it. Like it's just that type of lineup where in matchup where I'm just nah. I don't need that today, sir. Maybe next time.
It's probably going to rain tomorrow and my car's going to be dirty again. So I'll just get the regular. Yeah. Yeah, I dig. I got you.
Red Sox and Mariners next year. David Price versus Wade LeBlanc. And I can insist this David Price, salary here, who continues to be somewhat priced down from aces. Just 9,600 on DraftKings, a little expensive on FanDuel at 10-1. But I'm okay with them. There is a lot of lefty on lefty matchups, given the fact that Seager and Cano, hit from the left side. Obviously, you still have to watch out for Cruz and Daeho Lee, but I'm okay with Price tonight. I mean, obviously, he's not been what everyone's expected. Obviously, giving up a ton of hits, but I think tonight we're in that ballpark against this team. He'll be fine.
I like it. I think he's in a pretty good spot here. Obviously, the Mariners struggle against lefties. Pretty decent matchup, but overall, not in contention for some of these guys in the same price range. Tournament guy, but more of a deeper sort of hedging type of tournament play.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's not going to be my first GPP move, but I definitely think he's going to be one of the lowest owned on this slate, just because there isn't a lot of appeal from a guy who hasn't really had the greatest of seasons. I mean, but there still is a good strikeout rate, 25%. He is missing some bats. And as you mentioned, Seattle not good against lefties. I mean, 20th in WOBA, 21.6% strikeout rate. So I don't mind Price. I mean, was solid against them prior in the season, so I could definitely see a start very similar, and I do think a win's in order as well.
Agreed.
So Wade LeBlanc on the other side, not really looking to use him against this Boston team that, obviously I'm not expecting a ton of production, but it'll be enough to keep me off LeBlanc.
For sure.
So Brewers and Padres and Zach Davies, I mean, I was looking at him, seeing that he was going to start, I was like kind of intrigued, but I got to his price tag and I was just like, oh, come on. Really? 9,900. I know, I mean, he's pitching relatively well. It's the Padres on the road. Obviously, it's a great ballpark to pitch in, but damn it. Come on. I was hoping for like a mid 8K, it's up there. FanDuel, I don't mind it. I mean, 7,900, there is some upside there.
There's some upside. The ownership would definitely be on your side. I definitely get it. He has pitched well. But yeah, 10K on DK really puts a damper on things, huh?
Yeah, it really does. I'm not really looking at that price tag to really do some damage, but Luis Perdomo on the other side, I don't know. I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. This Brewers offense is awful.
It's really, really bad. It's really bad.
I mean, back-to-back games were, against tough opponents. I mean, got the win in both. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I kind of always fear of not. This is obviously deep, bro. So let me have this moment.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna mute myself, and I'm gonna let you have this moment, maybe even a moment of silence. I'm just gonna let you have it.
Okay, thank you. I mean, yeah, there might be a moment of silence come the end of the night, but Perdomo, just 4,700. I'm only looking at him on DraftKings where he's super cheap. Four starts here, 5 starts against tougher opponents and sometimes tougher ballparks. I think getting Milwaukee at home, where they obviously lost Lucroy, lost a lot of pop there. Same thing with Braun being out of the lineup. 26% strikeout rate. I do think Perdomo can come in and have a quality start. So pairing him up with a Fernandez or a Bumgarner can certainly get you that upside if you wanted to work in a kind of higher price stack or higher price hitters. Come back in, sir.
I'm back. What I don't know what happened. I went out for a walk and I came back. So how'd it go?
Good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's obviously a deep tournament option.
Interesting. Yes. No. I joking aside, it is intriguing, especially Zach Davies, but he's more of a FanDuel tournament guy than anything else.
Yeah, and Perdomo, you're not buying.
I don't want. I don't.
Russell. You can say
I don't want to buy.
You're not buying into it.
It's kind of like you're putting a new product on the shelves, and I'm like not into it, but like it's your product, and you finally got it on the shelf.
It's like
at like a local Walmart.
You're walking in the mall, and those people in the center who want to rub lotion on your hands. Like,
yeah, and you're just like
consistently doing that. Yeah, that's how I feel.
I don't want new sunglasses. I'm
not
a sunglasses
away, Russell.
guy.
It's fine. You don't. It won't hurt my feelings.
Okay, I'm gonna go get a smoothie and probably a pretzel, but I'm gonna eat the pretzel quick so nobody knows I got it.
No Cinnabon? You don't want to go sit down?
No, I don't go. I'm more of a salty than sweet guy.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Well, with that note, I think we'll wrap things up here with a pitcher nail down. Be sure to check out DayFantasyCafe.com for all great tools and content.